Okay, today on the show, we have Cody Steck from Salt Lake City. Let me tell you more about Cody. Now, Cody Steck is a 28-year-old realtor, and he's also a real estate investor based in Salt Lake City, Utah. He's been working as a realtor for 6 years and has climbed into the top 1% of agents by volume in just within his first 2 years, which is absolutely incredible. Although Cody has found success with selling real estate, his real passion is real estate investing. He loves to invest the money he earns back into real estate, the exact product he sells. And over the past 5 years, Cody has acquired 15 rental units, and currently has 5 more under contract. Now, in addition to being an investor himself, Cody also works with new and experienced investors and property developers. He has worked with brand new investors to buy their first rental property, as well as investors who have been buying and selling real estate for over 50 years. At the end of the day, Cody believes that investing in real estate is the #1 way to build wealth and live an amazing lifestyle. Now, Cody would like to talk. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was just getting into your talking notes, Cody. I'm sorry about that. So I want everybody, though, to, before Cody comes on, I want you to check out his YouTube channel. We're going to be referencing a lot of that today in the strategy he uses to attract investors and also buyers and sellers to his business, which you can find him at Living in Salt Lake City. So easiest way to do that, go to YouTube, type in Living in Salt Lake City, look for Cody's name, comes right up, and subscribe and check out the videos that he makes. But Cody, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm excited to have you. There's a number of things about you that are absolutely remarkable. Number one, first, and this is something that you wouldn't necessarily know from the intro, which is you do not work for another real estate firm. You have your own real estate office, and it's you as a solo practitioner. So not only are you a top producer,
I do actually have my license underneath a broker. I'm actually with Real Broker. But
I got you. I apologize. But it is still your thing, essentially.
Yeah. I think maybe you and I got a little confused when we were talking about it, but I still have my license underneath a broker, but I do everything 100% on my own. So apologies if there was confusion.
No, it gets confusing these days because companies like EXP and Real, for anyone who out there who might not be familiar with Real is sort of the newer kid on the block, has a similar model to EXP, and so that makes perfect sense why someone like you would be with a great companies, both of them. I'm fans of both. I think for me, I always joke that I think Real has like a much cooler like logo and presence. EXP is a little older, so that their stuff looks a little bit more dated. But I always love Real's from a marketing perspective. I think they have really cool looking stuff. But anyway, but you have done a lot in your early part of your career here. Number one, starting your career when you were 22 or so. That's not easy. There aren't a lot of people that I knew at that age, friends of mine who were buying and selling real estate. So that would have limited my opportunities for sure. I love that you have, within a couple of years of starting your business, you were a top producer. You are still a top producer. Oh, and by the way, you also, have your own investment portfolio that you're putting together. I was talking to Cody earlier about just how remarkable he is. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple of those things before we get into your story, because I think in particular, you've done a lot. So I think, the sky's the limit, I'm sure, but you're already doing real well, of course. But I'd like to start all the way back at the beginning. So I'd love to learn more about why you got into real estate at such a young age, and then how you got started. I just think, gosh, that seems like the hardest thing to do as a early 20s person. So to tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started in real estate actually, for whatever reason. It was always a goal of mine to buy my first house. As soon as I got out of high school, I was like, I want to buy my first house. I'm going to try and make this happen as soon as possible. I don't know why. Maybe I had, something to prove or whatever. I don't know, but I wanted to buy a house. So I was going to the community college. I was working just a normal job that a 19-year-old, works. I was actually working at a go-kart racetrack for a couple of years, and it was a great job. It was a lot of fun. I'm into cars. I'm into racing and stuff. So it was a great job, but it was like $13 an hour. So it wasn't anything great. But that's how I got started. And, I went to the community college and was working at the same time, saved up some money, eventually found a townhome to go out there and buy. just a cheap little townhome, rough part of town, but it was about all I could afford on $13 an hour. So
Sure.
moved into the place, made one mortgage payment, and then realized, wow, being an adult and paying a mortgage kind of sucks. So I got two roommates after that, because it was a 3-bedroom place. So I got two roommates, and the roommates, the rent that they were paying was almost enough to cover my entire mortgage. I mean, I was living in this house for like $200 a month. And that's when it kind of clicked. I'd never been interested in real estate or knew anything about it even, but it kind of clicked. I'm like, you know what? If I actually moved back in with my mom, who I was living with before, I could then rent out that 3rd bedroom, and I'm making money every month, right? I'd be making $200-300 a month. And, for a 21-year-old kid making $13 an hour, that's not bad, right? I was thinking, man, a couple $100, it goes a long way.
I mean, I'd love an extra $200 a month now. I think it's, because really, yeah, that amount isn't going to excite somebody, but sort of guaranteed to get that for the rest of your life, assuming you can hold on to it. That's good money.
Yeah.
And also you're like, I mean, you sort of stumbled upon what I guess is a version of house hacking, where very, very trendy right now to do. So yeah, I love that. It seems like a lot of kids in college, like a lot of parents will do that sometimes if they're forward thinking enough, they have a child in college, and instead of just paying the rent, they'll do that and say, get some roommates, cover the mortgage, and you get to live free. So awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, basically house hacked that first place. That kind of got my head spinning on real estate investing. And I actually started going to these investor clubs, going to different meetups and luncheons and stuff like that. And got started on the real estate investing side. Did that for about 6-7 months, trying to figure out my next move. And then eventually decided, you know what, I'm just going to start selling real estate. I really like this. I'm spending a lot of time doing it. I'm learning a lot. Why not just try my hand at selling? And jumped in super naively. Didn't know what I was doing, had never done sales before, but just jumped in and just said, I'm just going to figure this out. And, I like it enough that I think I can be successful. And it was a grind in the beginning. It was a grind. After I jumped in with both feet, I got my license and I quit my job, dropped out of college, and started selling. And that first year, I think I made $15,000, which was not a lot, right? And then from there, the second year it really took off, and that's when I was really able to climb and start producing, at a high volume.
Yeah, it's amazing. The fact that, yeah, you sort of suffered through a $14,000 year, which, by the way, not uncommon, right? For people even who are, who are starting it in their 30s or 40s. Sometimes it's or later. It's not just a young person's challenge, but it's everyone's challenge. Although certainly I would suspect a harder challenge in most cases for somebody of your age. Because again, I'm assuming your peer group wasn't lining up ready to buy a condo. Your friends are probably, just like anyone, struggling to figure out what they want to do with their lives, graduating college, some of them, and, going off and doing other things and moving too. Right. So it's like, there's just a lot of things that would make it, I think, really difficult for somebody in their 20s, early 20s to really be successful. And at least, here in Chicago, we're sort of lucky because there's such a strong rental market that a lot of times younger agents will start off just doing rentals because their friends are renting. So it's a good way just to sort of stay busy and then hope that the sales pick up. But I love the fact that you did this. And the other reason too of getting a license, even before realizing that you wanted to sort of be an agent working with buyers and sellers, is it going to save you a ton on the commissions when, of course, when you buy or sell something. So super forward thinking, super smart. The fact that you had this figured out at a pretty young age, again, just buying a home on a $13 an hour sort of salary is like, the idea of that is so far beyond what I would have thought of at that age. So I really applaud you for jumping in and starting your business. So in those early years, you talked about it being a grind. Do you remember what worked for you? Because we have a lot of people who are listening who are in their first couple of years, and they're in that grind right now. And any advice or things that you would suggest to somebody who said, I'm just about to get started? What should I focus on?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when I got started, I joined a team, which I'm really glad I did, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be in the business today. Because it's a grind, there's a lot of failure. You don't know what you're doing. I was 22 at that point. I have a baby face. That's why I have to carry this facial hair. It's like, you go out there, you meet somebody, it's a 49-year-old person buying their second house. And you're like, yeah, I'm 21, or 22. I don't know much. So, I mean, sure. I mean, there was things working against me, but there was also things on my side, right? I got a lot of time to build a business.
Yeah.
And, a lot of hustle, and that's just kind of what it took. So in the beginning, with that team, we did everything. We did for sale by owners, expireds, door knocking, open houses, Facebook ads, Google ads, pay-per-click stuff. We did pretty much everything. The only thing that really worked for me was the Facebook ads and the Google pay-per-click. Those leads that come in, they sign up on your website, you call them up, you start your sales pitch, and try to sell them a house. So that's how I got started. I sucked at expireds. I sucked at for sale by owners. I knocked on 57 doors and never knocked on another one again, because it just wasn't my thing. Which, by the way, those things all work, right? If you get good enough at them, every single method of lead generation will work. It just wasn't for me. So in the beginning, I did a lot of Facebook and Google ads, those pay-per-click. For the first 4 or 5 years, that's pretty much that was the majority of my business. This is back in 2000. I got my license in 15. So, 2015, 16, 17, 18, even into 19 a little bit. It was mostly just those leads, that were coming in. I got pretty good at it. I'd be spending anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get a closed transaction.
Right.
So it wasn't bad. You spend, let's say, $1,000.
No, that's a nice return.
Yeah. You get an $8,000 check or something, right? So
yeah. No, in fact, I will give you all of my money if you can do that, because that's like the world's greatest investment. And it's not a passive investment. Of course, it requires obviously a ton of work, but the end result is, that's a good return.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really good. It was a really good return. But the thing that I realized was, one, it wasn't scalable, because as soon as I stopped calling, the leads dried up, right? These leads were not calling me, even though I generated, I don't know, 5 to 10,000 leads. I don't know the exact number, but it was a lot of names and numbers over the years. I maybe had 5 people who actually reached out to me and said, hey, I'm on your website. I'm interested in this house. Can you help me? Most people are not calling you. So one, it wasn't scalable. And then two, I kind of just hated it. When you're making that sales call, you're coming from a position of a salesman, right? And not the authority. You don't have the control. You're basically almost in a way, like kind of almost begging those people, like, hey, let me help you. Let me help you, find a house. Let's meet up. Like, you're really trying to sell them. And that's difficult. Real estate is a sales game, but more than that, it's a people game. It's about relationships. It's about building those relationships and making friends in the business. So, that was kind of the tipping point where I just realized and said to myself, you know what, I'm kind of tired of this. Like I'm tired of making these calls. I was starting to get some referrals and past clients and stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I need to transition my business, sooner than later, or else I'm going to be the guy that's calling every single day for the next 20 years.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think what you just said is really important, because I know a lot of agents have sort of not that they've painted themselves into a corner, because hey, look, that's a great return. When you're spending $1,000 to then get, a $7,000 net profit. Well, that sounds awesome. We'd all do that, except those calls are difficult. And a lot of times people who are completing, you're having to call somebody multiple times often, right? And it's still a pretty cold lead, right? It's warmer than if you were calling an expired or for sale by owner, but just slightly, right? And it's still like, like you were saying, you generated 10,000 leads, it definitely works. And here we know that it works because we're all getting spammed for the last couple of years from these email accounts that are like, hey, I'm generating lots of leads online. Are you interested? I think all realtors are getting these emails, because of course it does work, but you're right. It's not really scalable, unless you were hiring you know, in ISA, which is an inside sales agent, you know, and they sort of tackle everything and then refer it over to you or someone else. But even that's hard because you have to manage somebody and you have to, you know, just it's a lot of work. And so you've transitioned a bit from sort of generating colder leads now to working more by referral. But I really want to talk about, you know, your YouTube content, because I think this is such a missed opportunity for so many agents who, you know, go, well, I'm not really that adept at, you know, doing social media, and I don't always know sort of the best practices there. And it's like, no, I think that's right. I think most agents aren't going to spend a year studying, you know, sort of YouTube SEO or Facebook SEO and really getting a sense, or just Facebook ad stuff. And it's tough. But what I love is realtors have the content that people are searching for on YouTube. They're hyper local. They know they should, at least they should know their area. And let's talk about what you do on YouTube that has been really successful for you. So can you talk a little bit about your YouTube channel and how it works to generate business for you?
Sure, absolutely. So I didn't know it at the time, but back in 2019, you know, I was getting burned out with those Facebook leads, and you know, just kind of thought, you know what, I need to do more on social media and branding. That was a part of my life where I kind of, you know, had this revolution, I guess, where I realized, you know what, I really kind of need to like build a brand around myself, who I am, what I am online, and just put myself out there, because, you know, social media does work. Everybody says it works. You just got to be strategic about it, consistent, all that stuff. So I first started making videos actually kind of just for fun, you know, like it was just kind of a creative outlet. And then quickly realized, hey, I'm actually getting views on my videos, you know, and we're talking small amounts of views, you know, 5, 10, 15 views per video at the beginning. But it ramped up pretty quickly, right? And you know, I was making videos from everything from what it's like to live in my area, the best neighborhoods, the worst neighborhoods, where to buy a house, what new construction looks like, the pros and cons of living in an area, the cost of living. These neighborhood tours have been really beneficial as well. So I'm making videos all about my local market, and it's basically just me talking about it. So I come up with the title, I look at what people are actually searching for, and then say, okay, how can I provide some type of content for that? So if you just go into your own market and you know, you go into YouTube and just type in living in Miami, Florida, right? You're going to get a number of videos that pop up. Look at what those titles are, copy those titles, and then make your own video about that. You know, that's exactly what I've done. When I got started, nobody was doing this in my market, and very few people were doing it around the country, even at that time. So a lot of agents are kind of making videos on like, here's how an inspection works, or here's how a 1031 exchange works, or here's how to stage your home, or whatever. And the reality is most people don't care about that. You know,
they're not searching for that.
They're not searching, how does a home inspection work? Right. Like,
right.
They're just not, right. Like, unless you might get one guy who's searching for that, but you know, there's nobody's searching for that basically. And so you've really got to make content surrounding what people are actually looking for and what they want to see. So like I said, just go onto YouTube, type in your city name, and it's going to come up with a ton of suggestions. You know, like here in Utah, one of my best, actually my best video is what it's like to live in Utah as a non-Mormon.
Yeah, I want to pause for a second, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So I apologize for cutting off your flow there. You were doing great. And I just want to pause and give you my observations of that video in particular, because for anyone out there who's like, I don't make videos, I don't have you know, a lot of production skills, I don't know how to add graphics, I don't know how to, you know, really I don't have proper equipment. And I please forgive me, because I am in no way suggesting there's anything wrong with your video here, but I think it's a perfect sort of demonstration of that. Really, anyone, and I'm sort of making this sound like it's not so cool, because it is super cool, but you are literally sitting in front of your computer's behind you. You have a couple of screens. You have a microphone in front of you. You're wearing, you know, your baseball hat. You're talking in front of the camera. No special setup here at all. And you are literally just talking for about 13, 14 minutes about what it's like to be a non-Mormon living in Utah. And I will tell you, that would be the very first thing I would search for as a non-Mormon if I was moving to Salt Lake City, right? That's exact, or anywhere in Utah. I would be like, I'm curious what it's like to be there, if I'm, not part of the Mormon faith. So I love this. And by the way, how many views does Cody have on this video? 79,000 views. So this is, he does have some graphics that show up. But it's pretty minimal production though. And again, I don't mean that in any sort of pejorative, negative way. I think it's inspiring because that content is so valuable that it doesn't have to be cutting edge, beautiful. It just has to be good content. And it is. And I'm sorry, I stole all your thunder on that one, but I am such a fan of this video. I want everybody to check it out. Just search for Living in Utah, non-Mormon, and it'll pop right up, or go to his channel. But can you talk a little bit about that video in particular and just the results you've had from it? Yeah,
absolutely. So I got started making videos, like I said, about pros and cons, the cost of living, neighborhood tours, all this stuff. And as I was doing my research, I kept looking at YouTube, trying to figure out what people are searching for, doing some of that SEO research. And this title kept coming up, living in Utah as a non-Mormon. And for a long time, I was like, I don't want to make that video. It's controversial. It's, I'm like, am I going to be steering people? Am I going to be giving bad information as a realtor, with my ethical duties or whatever? And I was just kind of thinking, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not ready for that. Right. Then one day, I just figured, you know what, let me just put it out there, let's see what happens. So like you said, I'm filming in my office, not high production quality at all. I mean, if you go back and look at some of my first videos, they're terrible. The audio is bad. The lighting's bad. I'm stumbling. The editing is bad. I mean, it's just a bad video all the way around, but they do really well. And for this video, it's no different. I'm sitting in the office, baseball cap on, regular clothes. You look like a normal guy. You don't look like a realtor because you're in this video. You're sort of not. You're just a non-Mormon guy talking about what it's like to live in Utah, which is exactly what I would want to know if I were moving there. Sorry, go ahead. Exactly. And that's the thing that's underlying that I want people to see or hear is that it doesn't matter what you look like, what you wear, what the video is. People, the thing that's amazing about YouTube and just video in general is it gets people to know you, like you, and trust you. This is one thing that one of my real estate coaches taught me early on. He said, those are the three things you need in order for somebody to do business with you. They have to know you, obviously, right? They have to like you. They have to like you as a person, and they have to trust you. They have to trust that you have the ability and the knowledge to do the job that they're asking you to do, right? So for me, when I'm talking about these areas, or I'm talking about what it's like to live here, this or that, it gives people the confidence to know, hey, I live in this area and I know a lot about it. I can give you advice on like, hey, if you're a single person, you probably don't want to live in this area that's super family focused, or vice versa. If you got a big family, you probably don't want to live in the hip part of town where it's mostly single people going to college, right? Like it's just those kind of different things that you have the insight on and people want to see. So when you get those three things, then people start to do business with you. And that's the thing I love about this video is, or just what I've been able to do now is that now I'm in the position of authority. People are searching for this content. They see my face, they see my videos, they hear my voice, and they start watching videos, and I've had people call me and tell me, hey, I just watched 27 of your videos and now I'm talking to you. This is kind of weird, but like, I'm calling some random guy off of YouTube to ask him real estate questions. And I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten like that. And the thing that I love about it is I'm already in a position of authority, right? Because they are reaching out to me. I'm no longer making that sales call to say, hey, let me show you this house. Let me meet with you. Let me show you how to list your home or whatever. These guys are reaching out to me, almost begging to work with me. They're saying, hey, I'm moving there, or I just moved here. I need help finding a place. Can you help me? And they're basically begging me to like work with them. And it's still mind blowing to this day. And it's been almost 3 years. So the thing about YouTube is you just got to be yourself. It's all about branding. It's all about building a persona, if you will, around who you are and what you do in your business. And that relates to all aspects, sellers, buyers, investors, developers, new construction. It doesn't matter. It all works. It just depends on what you focus on.
Yeah, I love. You have another video that I'm a big fan of for the title, which is called "What Nobody Will Tell You About Living in Salt Lake City," which I love that because years ago I wrote an article. This was like I should have made a video, but I wrote an article for realtors or people who are just past their exam, who were newly licensed, who were now trying to figure out what firm to go at. And I wrote, well, I'm a real estate recruiter. I sort of know the tricks of real estate recruiting. Why don't I expose some of these more smoke and mirrors stuff about recruiting and sort of just tell people here, if I were a new agent, knowing what I know, here's what I would look for when I was, interviewing firms. Here's what to pay attention to. Here's what's kind of, just a little bit of, exaggerated, whatever. And I thought, well, maybe somebody would find this interesting. And it ended up being our most viewed page on our recruiting website. We don't even promote it. It's just buried behind many other pages. But because people search for that on Google in this case, this like what recruiters don't want you to know, I think is the title, about real estate recruiting or whatever. It's titled differently than that, but something like that. Yeah. And that's a great also title because I remember I really got into this when I was I was on my dad and I went to Ireland several years ago, and we were going to all these little cities, and we had our travel guidebook, but it's like, well, that's great and fine. And the Rick Steves book or whatever we had was awesome. But it was also like, I kind of wanted someone else's opinion of maybe people who live there. And so every morning before we would go to visit our, two towns a day or 3 towns a day, we would go to YouTube and say like coolest things to do in XYZ place or, where the locals hang out or like the really cool places. And we would do those kind of searches. It was all YouTube. And we would listen to these YouTube videos in the car as we're driving in. The power of this is so big. And I'm curious, just from back to the living in Utah as a non-Mormon, and I know it's probably not super easy to quantify, but how many clients would you guess in the 3 years that video has been up, do you think you've received as a result?
Yeah. So I've actually got the info right here. Let me just look at my computer and I can tell you exactly how many I've gotten. So here in Utah, we don't do rentals for whatever reason. It's just not a part of our market.
Yeah, right.
Buyers and sellers. So the leads that I've recorded here over the last almost 3 years, I've brought in 621 buyers and sellers.
Unbelievable.
For clients, I mean, a lot of those, I guess you could call them clients or leads or whatever you want to say. But we brought in 621 people who've reached out to me, people I didn't know, literally from all across the world. And the last time I checked, this was maybe 6 months ago, I was at about a 7% closing ratio on those leads.
Wow.
So really, really high, actually. Like a lot of these leads that are coming through, super high quality, really interested, have money in the bank, good credit scores, are ready to buy, 3, 6, 12 months. It varies, right? Depends on the person. Sure. But I've had some people who literally are in town, like you just said about Ireland, right? They're in town. They're like, hey, I'm out here. I just accepted a job. I'm actually in town right now. Can we look at some houses? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's meet tomorrow. We go look at some houses and sure enough, put in an offer and have a deal, in 30 days. So, I've had deals like that literally like come same day, just out of the blue. And, the thing that I love about YouTube is because these people already know me, like me, and trust me, when they call me, there's not even really a sales pitch. It's just like, right. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how the process works. Here's what I'm going to do for you. And most of the time they're like, great, sounds awesome. Like, when do we get started? There's no sales pitch or anything. So yeah, it's good. And going back to that video that you talked about, what nobody will tell you about living in Salt Lake. Yeah. I was actually doing that video. I decided to reach out to some of my clients who had moved here. And I just said, hey, like what did they learn once they got here? That they didn't expect.
Brilliant. I love that.
I was really kind of just looking for feedback because then I knew those are the types of questions I need to answer in my future videos because, you may not realize something about the weather or the traffic or the snow that we get or the Mormons or whatever, right? Like there might be something like you haven't thought about and that I can make video content around that. So I was really just looking for feedback, like a survey almost, and then decided, let me make a video out of this. And I titled it, what nobody will tell you, because these are things that I didn't even think about. And I think that's like my second or third best video on my channel. A lot of really great response from it. So I
have a video title for you because it's the exact question I asked before we went live. I used to a million years ago. I used to work for Anheuser-Busch, and I was telling Cody I used to sort of travel the country doing things for them, and we never did anything in Salt Lake City. And this is like 2000, 2001, because Salt Lake City had very strict rules around alcohol. And so I was like, oh, is it still really strict there? And he was like, no, it's changed a lot. And so I have a video for you, how alcohol works in Salt Lake City, because a lot of us who have never been there, we know there's like the alcohol situation. It used to be kind of more unusual. And of course, that's something people want to know who are moving there too. So I don't know if you've done that video yet, but I imagine that'll be a great one for you.
Yeah, I did a quick little 2-minute video. It's done pretty well. I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 views. I haven't looked at it, but
you've already done that. I love it.
I've already done it. Yeah. It was titled like weird alcohol laws in Utah or something. And I just talked about like, hey, here's what you can get and here's what you can't get. And here's what not. And, the percentage volumes are a little bit different and whatever.
Sure.
So, so, I mean, people are looking for that type of content, and that's the thing that's really important. That is not real estate specific, right? But if you've got somebody who loves alcohol and wants to be able to get a drink, that's something they're going to be looking at, and they appreciate that type of content. So, making videos around what people are looking for is really, really important. And it's going to vary from market to market, right? Obviously, if you're in Pennsylvania, making a video about Mormons is not going to do very well.
Right.
If you're in Miami, Florida, making a video about how much it snows there is not going to do very well. So like, it's really market specific. You have to look at your market and say, who's moving here? What are they looking for? What questions do they have? What information do I need to give to them? And then make video around that.
And you said something very important, which is like, okay, how do you figure out this content? Well, you basically did that by reaching out to your clients and saying, hey, what do you wish you would have known? Or rather, you had a different question, was what are some of the cool things that people don't know about, here in Utah? And then you were able to take that content and make videos. But you could really have asked a different question too, which is, what do you wish you would have known before moving to Utah? And then that's content for you. Or like you were saying, you could just look it up on YouTube, see what videos already exist, see what videos seem to get a lot of traction. And because I know for me, a lot of times when I ask a question, like, for example, what it's like to be a non-Mormon in Utah, I will watch a couple because I want to get a couple different perspectives. So even if someone's already done that video and it's got, hundreds of thousands of views, and you're like, well, that's the one people are going to hit. Yeah, they will. And they might hit another 2 or 3 just to get additional opinions. I know I do that. So even if it's something that's already well established, you're like, oh, that guy's already got all the views. It's like, well, yeah, but it's good to have a second opinion. And you never know what's going to hit either, right? Like could be anything really. And the other thing too, and I just want to make this point because it might not be so obvious to our listeners, is you also get referrals for business outside of Utah, right?
Yeah. So most of the people that I help are relocating here to the area. Salt Lake City has become kind of a tech hub. So there's a lot of tech companies that are here bringing in, high paid employees for those positions. And so there's a lot of people moving in from out of the state. Of course, the whole pandemic thing accelerated that with people moving around, market going crazy. I've generated a lot of referrals because those people who are generally moving here already own a home. So during that first call, we talk about that a little bit. And if the opportunity presents, I say, hey, let me help you find an agent in where, XYZ city that you're moving from. Let me help you, find somebody who knows how to do relocation so we can make sure to make this a smooth transition for you. And, I'd say 30 to 40% of the time, they're on board with that. They're like, yeah, that'd be great. Please help us. A lot of times they do have agents already and that's fine, whatever. But I mean, to really just bring it up during that initial call and get a referral out of it, it's a pretty easy sell most of the time.
I know we've spent almost our whole time here talking about YouTube, and I apologize because I know investing is really, really important to you. And I really want to stay with this YouTube thing because yes, I am a huge fan of real estate investing, and specifically around, and we'll just talk about it for a minute. As realtors, we're transactional, right? We only get paid when a deal closes. No one has quite yet figured out how to make it a fee-based model. Like financial advisors moved to that, some time ago. Instead of paying for stock trades, now they pay for assets under management, and real estate hasn't ever figured that out. So one way is to build that sort of residual income is through passive investing or active investing. But having, like you were saying, hey, $200 coming in a month. I mean, I'm 46. I would love an extra $200 coming in a month for a little bit of work. So I know that's probably a conversation for a different day, because I'm so into this YouTube thing. But everyone should be. I will just say this, and I want to get Cody your thoughts. If you aren't investing in real estate and you feel like, as a realtor, maybe I should know more about this, my biggest piece of advice, and then I want to ask Cody for his, is the best resource I have found for people really wanting to learn about how to get involved with real estate investing, whether they can do it so they can do it themselves or that they can help other people do it. Biggerpockets.com is really my favorite resource. And I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about where somebody should start to learn about investing if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bigger Pockets is a great online resource. Of course, YouTube is great as well if you're into videos. I mean, I almost feel like I don't even watch TV anymore because I watch a lot of YouTube, because I get to watch exactly what I want, right? And you find these personalities and you learn from them. So YouTube's great. And then also the third thing I'd recommend is look at your area and find out where the investor associations are at. So just type in your city, for here in my market, I just type in, go to Google, type in Salt Lake City Real Estate Investors Association. That's the name of the association that's here that I'm a part of. And they do monthly meetups that are more formal. And then they have weekly luncheons that somebody will actually host. So there's, I don't know, a couple hundred investors, and some of these guys are big shots. Some of these guys have lots of money. They've been doing it for a long time. They've got tons of experience, and there's a lot of deals trading hands that realtors don't even know about. Whether it's rental properties or fix and flips or big commercial deals. I mean, there's a lot of big hitters at these associations. So I'd get involved with something like that. Are you going to walk up to the big hitter and pick up his business? No, probably not. But, there's going to be other people there who are trying to learn, and you just network with them. It's kind of just a big networking thing. And you meet these people and, build a relationship with them and say, yeah, I'm just getting started with investing too. Oh, hey, I have my license. Maybe we can partner. Maybe I can sell you a deal. I can represent you on a deal or whatever. It's all about, one thing that I noticed was when you make that shift of this isn't just a lead, but I'm building a relationship here. This is a friend. That's a major shift. And then also making the shift from, hey, I've got a client, I'm going to go find a deal for them. If you can find the deal first, you almost always can find a client for that deal. Right. And so I almost like to say, hey, I work for the deal. I don't work for the seller. I don't work for the buyer. I work for the deal. And that might be putting a deal together. It might be bringing in an investor on a property. It might be, investing myself. I don't know. It could be anything, but just kind of making those mental shifts really goes a long way. At least it did for me.
Yeah, and that's a thing we hear over and over again when we have had investors on the show. Is they said finding the money is the easy part, the finding the deals the hard part, because everyone's always looking for a great deal. Like jokingly, I said earlier, oh, I'll give Cody all my money if he can turn 1,000 into 8,000. Of course, anybody would take that offer in a split second. But finding the deal is really, and I think too, going to these meetups. So you're absolutely right. Like here in Chicago, it's called the Chicago. There's a million of them. So there's lots of these investor associations. Bigger Pockets also can connect you with that stuff. But what's great is, apprentice with some of these investors. A lot of them don't even have their real estate license, but I would say, can I spend time with you? I want to learn how you evaluate a deal. What do you look for? It's just a great place to learn. And I have found that the investor community is very, in my experience, they have been very helpful to each other. There's a lot of support that goes on, which sometimes doesn't happen as much on the realtor side. Sometimes there's realtors feel like they're in competition, but a lot of times I don't get that sense as much with investors, where they're very open to share, a lot of them, exactly how they find and process deals. And, it's a great opportunity to learn and add those skills.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think my perspective, I would agree with you. I think my perspective is that investors know, one, that it's relationship. Realtors kind of forget to remember that sometimes. believe it or not. But investors really know, hey, this is really about the relationship, either the relationship with the seller or the person you're trying to wholesale a deal to, or whatever it may be. So relationships are really important, but also it's kind of the personality. It's also kind of the MO, if you will, behind why people invest, right? People who go to these investor meetings are trying to level up, become a better person, invest in themselves and invest in property so that they can, build a portfolio and get to the point where they can support their family better, right? And they're always trying to level up. And I think people are willing to share when you get into that mindset of like, there's a lot of deals out there. I can't handle every single one myself. So like if somebody else picks up a deal, that's great. And it's all about just like putting yourself out there and continuing to build those relationships. So, I mean, yeah, I know we're kind of running a little short on time, but I mean, I would love to talk more about that if the opportunity ever came back up, really.
Yeah, definitely. We can definitely bring you back for that. I want to finish just by sort of recapping some of our video strategy, because again, so much of us might even be posting videos on Facebook, Instagram. Really those are the two places where realtors, they're doing reels or stories, and that's great. And it absolutely will help you deepen the relationships you already have with your sphere of influence and anyone else who follows you. However, it's a little trickier, I think, especially on Facebook. Facebook is a friend-to-friend network, of course, although, there's business pages. Realtors have business pages as well, but typically people who find you are going to be people that already know you, unless you're running ads, of course, and then that's a whole different thing. But Instagram, kind of the same thing. Yeah, people search by hashtags too, but it's not the easiest way to find people. But YouTube is a total search engine. That's really, I always say YouTube is exclusively, first and foremost, a search engine. In fact, I think it's the number 2 search engine right behind Google. Of course, Google owns it as well, but it really is. Think of it as a search engine. And so this is an opportunity. So what Cody's done with very little, investment. I mean, probably everybody's got the same equipment that you used to create some of your videos, just in their phone even, or at least a comparable equipment, although, you have a nice mic and all of that. But the fact is content is king. And as realtors, you have the content, or if you don't have it, ask your clients, boy, what do you wish you would have learned? And as a result of you putting up content on a regular basis, and it takes time. In fact, Cody, quick question. If somebody I'm sorry, I'm sort of jumbling myself up. I'm going to pause, go back to something. I realized I'm all over the place. What I was going to say about YouTube versus Facebook and Instagram: YouTube is a search engine. Facebook is more of I'm going to scroll through and see what comes up. YouTube is a little bit of that, but I think most people go to it to search for things. So, this is an opportunity for you as an agent to make content that people are already searching for. It doesn't have to be you don't have to have, a production degree, and you have to have a whole team of makeup artists and graphic designers. You can literally just do it yourself, as long as the content is good. And that's what realtors have. They know content. They know the best bars in the neighborhoods. They know the best restaurants. They know the coolest retail shops. They know the best schools. Of course, as you said, you have to be very careful to make sure you're compliant and not violating any ethics or any sort of compliance regulations or license law. But let's just think about, like, you just talked about one video, and I know not every video is going to do this well. You just talked about one video getting over 40 clients. What did that video about being a non-Mormon, what did that cost you to produce? Like the total cost of it, what would you say, how much money did you put into that video?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can't remember exactly if I had my virtual assistant editing my videos at that point. I think I did. Some of the graphics in there, I don't know how to even put into the video myself. I know how to edit the basics, but I must have had my virtual assistant editing for me. So that was maybe 3 hours worth of time to script out the video and then film it and then send it off to my editor. He put in probably, 6 hours to edit it. And, it's a virtual assistant, so it's like $4 an hour. So it probably cost me $25 to make that video. That was my editing.
And
And
3 years later, you've got over 40 clients and hundreds of other people that I'm guessing are on like an email list or some sort of follow-up campaign, depending on what information you have about them. But
yeah,
40 actual clients from a less than $100 spend. Now, why did this happen? Because the most important thing on YouTube is content. Cody created really great content. Did it look great? Not really, but it sounded great because it was great. And that is the key. And anybody can do that. And I apologize. I'm making Cody sound like your videos look terrible. They don't, they look great, but we're not talking about a high production value. And the point I'm making is, could somebody else have done this exact video? Totally. Now, they wouldn't have been Cody, they wouldn't have been his personality, but somebody else and probably other people have tried. But Cody now, that's just one video. So
yeah,
there is so much opportunity out there for agents to just start putting out content and just realize when it lives on Facebook and Instagram, it's more disposable. It's there, it's gone. It might hit some of your friends' feeds. Maybe 3% of your friends or followers will see it. That's about it. But on YouTube, it lives forever. And if it's good quality content, and you can always update it too. That's something you can always do too. But so I love that you're doing this. I think it is so smart. And oh, by the way, so I wanted to ask you one more question
yeah,
because we're bouncing around a bit. So you make this video, somebody's like, hey, I'm moving from, wherever, some other state, other city. And you're like, I don't know any realtors in that area, but they go, I actually do need to sell my home before I move into Utah. And then Cody goes, no problem. I can help you with that. How do you go about sourcing, finding somebody that can assist in their hometown? And I mean, I already pretty much know what I think you're going to say, but let's talk about that because you're getting a referral commission on those too.
yeah, sure. So, believe it or not, the first thing I usually do is I'll look up their city on YouTube, and see who's doing YouTube in their area, because if they are, there's a good chance they know about relocation. Relocation, there's a couple extra things you need to know about. People are making a move 500, 1,000, 3,000 miles across the country, sometimes even, international. And there's a lot that goes into it. So I usually start with YouTube. I'll say, hey, who's doing YouTube and selling houses in their area? If I can't find anybody, then I usually reach out to either my mastermind group, which I've been a part of for about 6 years now. We've got a pretty good referral network in there. Or, worst case, I shouldn't say worst case, but my third option is I go to the brokerage and just, try to keep it in house and see if somebody else is able to do that. But
or you could also too just go to Zillow and see who's got the best reviews if you absolutely do. So finding realtors in these other areas, not difficult. There's a million ways to do it.
And every realtor would love to have your business, so it's not hard to get them.
I mean, it's actually brilliant. So I am such a big fan of what Cody's doing at such a young age. He's and again, we know he spent a lot of time on sort of the YouTube component of it, but I think it is such an amazing opportunity that anyone can do. And also really, I encourage everyone to follow what Cody's doing. The easiest way is to follow his YouTube channel, which is living in. I'm so sorry, my notes just shut. Yeah, living in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. You can just type in my name and that will bring up, other videos that I've done. I've actually got a handful of channels. We didn't even talk about any of that, but I've done videos for other markets. So you can even just type in my name and it'll bring up additional content as well.
Yeah, and the name is Cody Steck, and that's CodySteck. And I have a last question for you.
Yeah.
Have you thought about making? So you talked about making videos in other areas. Have you thought about getting information about a completely different area that you're not, you don't live in, you don't work in, and you don't know that well, and starting to develop content for there just to see if you can also get, and then just build referrals to other agents in that area. So you would make content for, let's say, Atlanta, Georgia, as an example, where you don't live. Have you thought about going into other markets and saying, what if I applied the same? Now, obviously your knowledge would be different. You would have to spend more time learning about those areas, but have you thought about expanding into other cities?
Yeah. So I do run another channel for St. George, Utah, which is about 4.5 hours south of me. I don't live there, but I make video content about it. And then I've got a partner there who's boots on the ground. So I do all the videos, I run the channel, I do the editing, whatever. I take those first initial calls. And then as somebody comes in, they say, hey, I'm in town next week, can I look at houses? I'll just say, hey, great, I'm going to be traveling or whatever. I just tell them I'm unavailable.
Sure.
But my partner, his name's JD. I'm like, hey, JD's available. He's in town. He'd love to show you some houses. And then I just have a split set up with him. So I'm actually the face of the videos for that specific thing. And I don't live in St. George, but I'm, building the channel there. And then I've also partnered up with some agents as well, where I do all the back end. So they actually do the filming and work with the clients, but I do all the back end, kind of the YouTube management stuff. So we've attacked it from a couple different angles, and it's been really good. But I've had the most success with my main channel living in Salt Lake.
Sure. But I suspect too, if anyone reached out to you from maybe a smaller market where they said, hey, can you make videos for my market? Just send me all the referrals. You guys work out an arrangement. That's also an opportunity too. So if anyone's out there who goes, I'm not really good in front of a camera, but I would like to start participating, maybe you're the boots on the ground guy. Again, there's only so much of Cody to go around, but that might be an opportunity too, right? So that's another thing that agents can leverage, and partner with you sometimes even in these other markets. So, if anyone out there has an opportunity saying, hey, Cody, let's do some business. If anyone does have those questions, or maybe they want to partner with you, or if they want to refer business to you for people that they have moving to the Utah area, what's the best way that another agent should reach out to you?
Yeah. So the best way is email. Send me an email. My email is pretty simple. It's Cody, CODY at fastutahhomes.com, just like it sounds. And yeah, just send me an email with an introduction on what you're looking for. If it's a referral, if you have questions, I'm a total open book. I'll share anything you want to know. I'll try to help you if I can. But email is the best way to get in touch, just because I'm so busy throughout the day, doing stuff like this, or with clients, or on the phone with new leads or whatever. Sometimes calls and texts I'm not able to get to right away. So email is usually best for to get that introduction started.
Awesome. So again, that was Cody at fastutahhomes.com, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. And check out fastutahhomes.com as well to see what all Cody's content is also posted there. So you can find his YouTube channel, of course, on YouTube, living in Salt Lake City, but also find at fastutahhomes.com. Well, Cody, we are so grateful to have had you on the show. And I know we would like to have you back to talk more on the investing side, but I just think you have captured, I want to call it lightning in a bottle, except it's not lightning in a bottle. It's a ton of work. It's really something that anybody can do, creating videos to attract other consumers, but it takes time, it takes discipline, it takes the work of other people, in your case, hiring virtual assistants, which absolutely can be affordable. Thank God we live in a gig economy now, world gig economy. Sorry, it took me a few times to say that correctly, where we can put jobs out and say, hey, who's got a skill that can do this? And we're not limited to the people in our local area, and we can find people from all over the world that will do it at a much lower price than maybe what we would have to pay in our existing area. And consistency and just getting it done, and then just seeing what happens. I know for this podcast, we didn't really get any traction for at least a year, and we've spent no money on production, or not no money on production, but no money on marketing, but just trying to get content out there. So I just realized Cody just inspired me, as I'm saying goodbye, to make videos because I'm a real estate recruiter. I recruit agents to join our firm. I should be making videos about what agents are thinking about when they're trying to evaluate firms. And I should do that for my specific market and become more of the knowledge source of, hey, here's what, just like that blog post I wrote all those years ago. So you just inspired me to take action and become the YouTube channel for agents trying to pick a real estate firm. So nobody steal that idea, please. But that'll help me in the same way it's helped Cody. So we're huge fans of Cody Steck. Please keep your eye on him. Subscribe to his YouTube channel, Living in Salt Lake. In the show notes, we'll have a link right to his YouTube channel. Check out what he's up to. duplicate what he's doing in your own local market, guys. You can do this. Of course, guys meaning men and women. So please do this. Cody, thank you so much for being on our show. We huge fans of yours. At 28 years old, you are a million miles ahead of where I was at 28. So I am jealous and also very proud of you. So congratulations on being a top producer, an investor, and a YouTuber at the same time. So for everyone out there who is listening, we want, on behalf of Cody and I, we say thank you for continuing to support our show. Please, we ask you do just one thing. Tell a friend. Think of one other realtor that could benefit from hearing this amazing interview with Cody. Send them a link to our show. Best way to do that, we have a website, keepingitrealpod.com. Or if they're already a podcast person, pretty much everyone listens to podcasts anyway, just have them pull up a podcast app, search for Keeping It Real, and hit the subscribe button. So on behalf of our audience, we also thank Cody for his time. Cody, it was such a pleasure, and we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Cody.
My pleasure. Thank you.